All right, we're going to do it. If everybody could please gather in a social distance fashion, please. Take a seat or a stand if you'd like as well. Thank you all so much for coming today. We are just thrilled to have each and every one of you join us on this very important occasion. We're very, very pleased to have you here at Portal Innovations at Fulton Labs. It's been a journey to get here. I've spent my whole career in building life sciences companies here in Chicago, and I'm very proud of where we are today. But just to give you a little perspective from a chronology point of view, we started our first company, my brother and I, Mike, who's a chemist, in the Chicago Technology Park on the campus near UIC in the Illinois Medical District in a 400 square foot laboratory. We were able to get money through a small business innovation research grant, $50,000. That was our seed capital. And then together we had two ambitions. Mike, being a scientist, wanted to get a drug to the market. Me, being a finance guy, wanted to get to an IPO. And it turned out to be a lot harder than we expected when we started that journey. And we learned that having the right space was critical. Being able to run experiments in a laboratory versus in your garage or bathtub at home is much safer and very important and scalable, quite frankly. But what we learned also quickly in building our first company, Medichem, was that there was space, but there wasn't really a community. There weren't people that had done it before. There weren't mentors, there weren't investment banks, there weren't law firms, there weren't other scientists that had traversed from idea to the commercial marketplace. So over the ensuing 15 to 20 years, we really needed to build our own ecosystem. And the good news for us is that I'm from a big Irish family, and so we kind of created our own little family ecosystem to begin with. We added my brother Pat, who's an attorney, my sister Nancy in business development, as well as our brother Ed in public relations. And together we built several companies, took a handful of those companies public, and made an impact on creating several hundred jobs here in the Chicago region, and repeater entrepreneurs that are now populating the landscape that we're very proud of. But what we're trying to do here at Portal is simulate that same environment that I had the benefit of working within. Not just the space, not just the access to capital, but the access to the community. And that's what we're building at Portal. So what is Portal? Portal is, it's the equivalent of Chess Records or Buddy Guy's Legends Bar, where blues guitarists, rock bands come, hang out, build a team, create great material. Here, we'll be bringing that same mentality to scientists and those innovators that want to create great material as well. And it's a lot of the same. To make great music, you need a great team, you need access to money, you need access to promoters, and you need access to the right studio and space. So they'll do that here at Portal. We're investing our crafted capital into emerging life sciences companies coming out of our great research institutions. Northwestern, University of Chicago, University of Illinois, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, the Greater Midwest, Loyola University, Rush University, you name it. We have an emerging set of innovators that we're going to support here in our unique laboratory space, and we're going to put our arms around them, and we're going to help them grow into companies that can deliver new therapies to patients down the road. So, why Chicago? If you look at Chicago, it has all the ingredients to be a successful innovation ecosystem for life sciences. We've got great research institutions, one of the top places where NIH grants get funded. We have big research budgets, not only within the academic institutions, but Argonne National Labs, Fermi Labs. And in these areas of science, they're the places where the next vaccine are coming from. Think about Argonne. Argonne, a lot of the crystallography work that discovered the actual spike protein and its structure are leading to cures and antibodies that will help us with regards to the fight around COVID. And we are also very thankful to have and be supported by great government institutions like our local city government as well as at the state level as well. Why now? Well, think about COVID. What an evil virus that has divided us. It has cut at the core of the American spirit. It's hit every single one of us in destructive ways, not just here, but around the globe. And science is what's fighting our way out of this challenge. And science is really representative of the true American spirit. We have the opportunity to facilitate and accelerate that American spirit by advancing science. And when you think about Chicago's strengths, we have strong expertise in the immune system, the microbiome, material science, the ability to make new materials that can cure disease. And these all tied together with math and computing and the engineering that goes with this new way to develop new drugs on an accelerated manner. Science is moving so rapidly. What we saw with Moderna and Pfizer, going from idea to the market with a vaccine in 10 months, I think we'll look back on this time frame and see it was akin to putting a man on the moon. It's incredible. But that same science is being applied and proliferating in other diseases: Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, blindness, multiple sclerosis, food allergy, heart disease, and cancer. And there's big investments being made in this space by virtue of people's attention around COVID. In fact, $43 billion in venture investments in 2020. It's a new high. It's a 50% increase over last year. And there's a more early stage focus on those investments, which is good news for Chicago because that funds our early stage innovation, where we're going to have those types of companies emerging. And on the back end, our IPOs have never been healthier. 2020 was a record year, $88 billion of exits. So that's what Portal is really trying to do, is bring idea to concept to patient. And to do that, you need money. And the IPO and the capital markets are our friend. So now I say thanks to our collaborators at Trammell Crow, Johnny, Grady, Morgan, David, at CBRE, Dan, Andrea, James, at Walter Ventures, Elizabeth, Dr. Walter, Sandra, Jeff, Mordecai, and in addition to the powerful, transformative Portal team, Nader, Brian, Yuan, Pat, Shahila, Deontay, Rose, Steve, Rob, Darrell, Brett, EJ. Thank you for making it real. Thanks, Alderman Burnett, for believing in the TCC vision, for our ability to build Fulton Labs in this wonderful, beautiful neighborhood where people like to live, work, and play. And thanks to our next speaker, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, for championing the life sciences industry and rolling out the red carpet with arms wide open to welcome inventors and scientists to this great city as we build the economy in the next decade and beyond. I think 10 years from now, we'll look back on this day and recognize this was the turning point, triggering a renewed growth in our great city of Chicago. And I hope we can say that Portal was a catalyst, a foundation that others could build upon and collaborate around and build from, and build a pathway to widespread, diverse opportunity. So today, when we cut the ribbon on Portal, I believe we're cutting the ribbon on Chicago's future. Portal is set to open up Chicago's role in the biocentury. Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot.
Thank you, John, for those really inspiring words. And I want to lift up one of the last things he said. We're cutting the ribbon today on Chicago's future, and I believe that that is true. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so very much for being here. We are here today to mark another important milestone on our journey to economic recovery. This new business incubator for life sciences is further testament to the fact that businesses continue to choose Chicago because of the great strengths that we have here in our local economy. Let me recognize and thank some of the other partners who are with us here today. Alderman Walter Burnett, Deputy Mayor for Economic and Neighborhood Development, Samir Mayakar. Of course, our friends at World Business Chicago, led by the new CEO, a great leader, and the city's Chief Marketing Officer, Michael Fassnock. I want to also give a shout out to Elizabeth Walder, who not only is an investor in this venture, but has been with us every step of the way, supporting the recovery of our arts community. So Elizabeth, let me publicly thank you and the family for what you've done. Tom Guyowski, Chris Hart, and others who made today possible. And of course, I want to thank the team at Trammell Crow who developed Fulton Labs. Just less than a year ago, our city became the first to publish a comprehensive economic recovery plan that detailed our pathway out of this pandemic. And at that time, we were still wrestling in the throes of COVID-19 that we still were learning a lot about. But the one thing that we did know is that for us to recover from the social and economic crises that COVID spawned, we couldn't afford to take any shortcuts or half measures. We needed to take bold, visionary, and transformative action, as well as create dynamic, inclusive economic growth that uplifts our neighborhoods and unlocks the talent and potential that we have right here at home, some of the things that John spoke to this morning. That's why a core facet of our recovery plan is making investments in and leveraging our city's strengths and key sectors. We laid out a bold vision for really leaning into the core parts of our economy, from food and agriculture to technology, transportation, distribution and logistics, manufacturing, and of course, life sciences and healthcare innovation. Long before the pandemic ever struck our city, each of these sectors was growing and thriving by any metric that you wanted to use. And as we look to recover, we wanted to make sure that we played into those strengths, making them all the more important to invest in as we recover from this pandemic by putting all of our residents back to work with good-paying, sustainable jobs, ensuring that they have the resources they need to thrive right there in their own neighborhood. And above all, putting them and our entire city back on a path towards prosperity. Portal Innovations will allow us to do just that and more. Operating out of Trammell Crow's new Fulton Labs, Portal Innovations will utilize a total of 46,000 square feet across 2 buildings to provide the physical space, capital, and technical assistance that life science startups need in order to get their businesses off the ground and to find success. It will create a wave of new jobs and opportunities for residents here in Chicago as it seeks to grow its current workforce of 15 to 35 to 50 by the end of the year and 150 people by 2022. And as it expands its company portfolio from 5 now to 25 and 22 as well. Meaning that when many of these companies become independent, sustainable enterprises, they will be able to employ hundreds of employees right here in this city, creating the ecosystem that we need desperately to make sure that our life sciences not only continues to grow and thrive with innovation, but we're creating a real community so that others will come. Starting today and well into the future, Portal Innovation will allow us to unlock our city's assets and grow our life sciences and healthcare innovation centers, thus aligning with our COVID-19 economic recovery plan and further ensuring that we will bounce back from this pandemic stronger than ever before. Folks, Portal Innovation and Trammell Crow could have chosen to set up shop anywhere in the state or really in the country, but they decided to bet on Chicago and decided to take advantage of our city's abundant resources and natural advantages. These resources and advantages include, but are far from limited to being, are such as the top 10 biopharma cluster and employer of chemists, bioengineers, biomedical engineers, biochemists, and life scientists. Our universities, our national labs are just brimming with talent and ideas and innovation. And this center will allow them to take their ideas and build them into businesses that will ultimately provide life-saving drugs and therapies for people. We have the #1 market for growing venture capital funding, the 3rd largest medical and life sciences industry, and set to be positioned as the next big thing for our life sciences industry. So make no mistake, today we are announcing to the world that Chicago is on the map and growing as a life sciences innovation hub and center, and we are grateful for the work of Portal and Trammell, and more to come, folks. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to introduce and welcome Michael Fassnock to say a few words. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, and good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here, and it was such a pleasure to see the mayor in the science lab. I think she felt back in high school, and whatever the rumors say, she didn't break any of the equipment. Thank you, Mayor. Like the mayor said, I think Chicago is extremely well positioned to build on the recent wins, momentum in the area of life science and healthcare innovations. And we talk about a lot of ingredients, but let me focus on 3 ingredients that are critical to continue our momentum to make Chicago a true life science hub. You have the right space, you have to talk about talent, we also talk about venture capital. Let's first talk about the right space that we need. After having in the past having some lack of space, we have up to almost 6 million of square footage as new lab space in development over the next couple of years that really will enable companies to grow, to start, and create more and more jobs every single year. And Chicago is, in comparison to other cities, much more affordable. If you look at San Francisco, lab space is roughly below $60 a square footage. In Chicago, lower than 30. A huge competitive advantage to help start companies. Second, sufficient venture funding. We are, like the mayor said, #1 market for growth and VC funding in the life sciences space. Almost a $1 billion in National Institute of Health funding represents the largest percentage in life science venture capital of any US major market. Last but not least, but super important, we have amazing talent. Chicago is the 3rd largest medical life science industry with almost 700,000 employees in the larger Chicagoland, and ranks in the top 10 nationally for the employment of all the key talent we need to make Chicago even more amazing in life sciences. As many of our leaders in life science and healthcare innovation are gathered here today, let me finish by saying World Business Chicago, as the economic development arm of the city and the mayor's office, is here to help you. We and the mayor's office, represented by Deputy Mayor Samir Maika, are your partners in removing any barriers for your growth and helping with you to tell the amazing story of Chicago, the momentum to come. We have to highlight all our key assets, and if we do this correctly, I'm very confident we really position Chicago as the next big thing in life sciences and healthcare innovations. And next, I would like to introduce the chair of Portal Innovations, Brian. Please.
Thank you. It's great to be here today. It's great to see everyone. Just a brief introduction about myself. I come from the large life sciences company of Abbott Labs. I spent 23 years of my career with Abbott. I always tell people I'm from Northeast Ohio, but now my home is here in Chicago, having spent so much time with Abbott. The last 8 years of my career at Abbott, I spent a lot of time in investor relations, getting to know investors around the world. And in the last 5 years, I was the CFO. I took a big decision, not knowing what I wanted to do, but I had the benefit of early retiring at Abbott at 50. And so we were in a transition period where our great CEO, Miles White, was retiring, and I told him that I was going to retire as well. And this was right before COVID hit, and we even knew really what COVID was. It was in November of 2019. He said, "What do you want to do?" I go, I don't know, and that's okay. I just know that I like to learn, I like to meet fascinating people, I like to make a contribution to the community, and I do care deeply about healthcare, having worked with Abbott for 23 years. So a lot of soul searching, and John Flavin found me through a mutual acquaintance we have, and we Zoomed a lot together over the summer, but I got involved with him last June from the early going and helping to tell the story about what Portal Innovations was, reaching out to the networks, doing a lot of branding with my colleague Nader El-Rashidi, who's in the audience here, and working with Trammell Crow. It was just so exciting. And what's fascinating is just so many smart people that are in this field, and it's really humbling to me. But I told John, I'm done in finance. If you ask me to do spreadsheets, I'm out. He goes, no, we won't. he only tortured me on one thing, and that was for the original valuation, so thank you for that, John. But really, he's just allowed me the freedom to be myself and to go out there and really focus on strategy, really focus on network, because while there's a early stream of what the innovation is doing, you have to have a downstream audience in the investors and the companies that are ultimately going to accept these technologies. So it's just an honor to have been the founding chair. It's filled in the void that I've been looking for to continue to build my network and to be part of something that's impactful to the city of Chicago. So thank you, John, for having me as part of the team. But I have the great honor of introducing our founding sponsor today, Elizabeth Walter, who's the president of the Walter Foundations. And you know, as I read about her background, it's just amazing. She led an immigration firm here in Chicago for many years. But the Walter Foundation really takes passion in a lot of areas, whether that's environmental sustainability, the advancement of science, immigration communities, and support, I know, of the Jewish life to uplift communities, to make them better, to make them stronger. And so it's just an honor to be able to collaborate with you, Elizabeth, and your team as we look at what we can do within the talent of Chicago and our systems all the way down through high schools to continue to advance science and be the feeders that we need to continue to have success here with Portal Innovations and the companies that come out of the Fulton Labs market. So with great honor, I'm going to introduce Elizabeth Walter.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for those kind words, and thank you, Mayor Lightfoot, for those thoughtful words. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are so happy. We're so happy to celebrate the official launch of Portal Innovations here at Fulton Labs. Given the year that we've had, we're also really grateful to celebrate in person. My husband, Joseph, and I opened the doors of our private family foundation a few years ago. And our mission, as Brian was alluding to, our mission is to champion Chicago. And we do that by uplifting our local communities and elevating our region's contributions more broadly to the world. And among our funding areas is science innovation. And this is really inspired by Joseph's passion for scientific discovery and his entrepreneurship. So our focus in this area is to build an innovative and collaborative research platform right here in Chicago. My husband and I formed Walter Ventures to extend our foundation's mission through investments in infrastructure and businesses, and recently, as you've heard, made our first investment in Portal. And today, we are here to celebrate Portal as a venture and investment company that will help many life science startups realize their visions, turning research and innovation into new technologies and breakthrough products. Now, we're also excited to explore Portal's interest in providing the next generation of scientists and entrepreneurs with new opportunities that will serve to captivate the young scientists and invite budding inventors of all colors and genders into an industry that has traditionally favored the white and privileged. Opportunities to engage with a network of experts and inventors to inform and influence life science research, and opportunities to realize Chicago as a city, a global city of innovation, a city that is pushing science forward. Portal and Walter Ventures share a vision to build the life sciences infrastructure and startup culture right here. And we are both committed to diversifying, attracting, and retaining the best science talent locally and from around the world. Today, we're excited to be standing in Fulton Labs, an impressive achievement of business and life sciences coming together to drive innovation and discovery. We congratulate John and his entire team at Portal on this momentous occasion. And together, we look forward to realizing an equitable and purpose-inspired life sciences community in Chicago. Thank you.
All right, so now I have the honor of introducing another distinguished guest here. Portal relies a lot on its advisors in addition to the team members we have internally. And so we have Dr. Tom Guyowski, who's here to my left. He's an advisor to Portal, but he's also the AbbVie Foundation Professor of Cancer Immunotherapy at the University of Chicago. Additionally, Dr. Tom is an innovator. He's a scientific founder of many technologies in the immunotherapy care. One notably is Pyxis Oncology, which we've been reading a lot about, who's been very successful in fundraising, who goes after difficult to treat cancers. So it's just great to have Tom with us here today, and so I'll introduce now Dr. Tom Guyowski.
So thanks so much for the opportunity to represent the academic community here at this exciting event. As was mentioned, I'm a professor at the University of Chicago, an oncologist, and a cancer researcher, where we work in the area of cancer immunotherapy. Now, many of you may know that immune-based therapies for cancer have become a revolutionary new mainstay for cancer treatment, with FDA approvals in more than 15 different cancers, and in many cancers this is now our first-line therapy. This has been the subject of the Nobel Prize issued in 2018 to two of my friends, Jim Allison and Tasuku Hanjo, but you can see that the field is still in its infancy. It's brand new. There are a lot of discoveries being made in terms of new therapeutic targets and new modalities to enhance our current therapies, to expand efficacy and bring these into more cancers and into more patients, including the pediatric community. So how do we do that? We have discoveries in the research lab. How do you turn basic science discoveries into potential new therapies that can be commercialized? Well, at the University of Chicago, we're fortunate to have an infrastructure for that component. It's called the Polsky Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. John Flavin was the director of that for several years and grew it to become a powerful force to take ideas, intellectual property, and try and get them out into the commercial space. So how does that work? So we can out-license our ideas to existing biotech companies, and they can work with those targets or those concepts, try and bring them to fruition. Or we can generate our own startup companies if we have sufficient ideas and sort of a platform for more than one drug. So what do you need for that? So you need investment capital, you need space to have your fledgling research enterprise grow, and you need people, the business people and the scientists to carry out their work. So it just so happens that over the past 10 or 20 years, the two big focal points or hubs for this kind of transition out of the research enterprise into commercialization have been on the coast, in the Boston-Cambridge area on the East Coast and in the Bay Area on the West Coast. So what happens? Our ideas get out-licensed to companies in Boston and San Francisco. And my two startup companies that I'm a scientific co-founder of, Jounce was the first one, and Pyxis, more recently, again with John Flavin as a co-founder, are in the Boston-Cambridge area. The other aspect of our work isn't just the research part, but teaching. We train graduate students and fellows, and some of them want to go into the biotech industry. So what happens when they graduate? They go to the same places, and our talent is bled out of Chicago. So how do we solve this problem? This is what makes me so excited to be here today, is Portal Innovations is leading the way to form a nidus, a focal point, a hub to retain all of those elements, to create new companies right here in Chicago, in this beautiful, livable part of the city where you can live and work, have views of downtown, be inspired with bright spaces, So this is what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what John and colleagues bring forward in this regard. And I've already committed that the next ideas that we have to go into our next company, we're going to try and do it right here, John. So keep the door open and set aside some space, okay? Thanks.
I'm definitely make a note of that you will never find another company from either one of you guys in Boston, or San Fran for that matter. So this morning I had a great pleasure of just getting to know our next speaker. His name is Chris Hart. It kind of hit home to me because he's a senior managing director at Nasdaq and has a lot of focus on portfolios of companies that are growth oriented. And it just reminded me of the days where I was like living and breathing night and day the stock price of the company that I used to work for. But we're going to have Chris come up and say a few words, because how fitting to have innovative technologies associated with Portal Innovations and the other companies that will come into Fulton Labs, because ultimately down the road, they will either become strategic targets for the companies who need their technologies of the larger companies like Abbott Labs, or they in fact will go public themselves and will be accountable to the shareholders on the public market. So it's a great honor to now introduce Chris, please. Thank you.
Well, it's a great honor to be here, John. Thank you very much for the invitation. I started my career at a biotech investment bank, and so John and I have quite a number of things in common and people, and we've had a lot of fun catching up on the old days. It's a long time ago now. But I'm here to represent Nasdaq and really to talk about the alignment and vision that we have at Nasdaq with Portal Innovations. And that is to rewrite tomorrow. First, a little bit of a background on Nasdaq. I mean, I think people identify Nasdaq with a stock exchange where the world's most innovative companies list. And they're disruptors, they're innovators, it's growth. And others understand Nasdaq to be the best-in-class trading technology that powers 120 exchanges, marketplaces in 50 countries around the world. Our purpose at Nasdaq is to champion inclusive growth and prosperity. And in its simplest form, I think about it as a marketplace for opportunity. And this is opportunity for mom and pop investors, opportunity for companies, opportunity for communities, and in some cases, opportunities for patients, for sick people, for families that have loved ones, moms, dads, children, cousins, suffering from debilitating disease. But for the general public, right, teachers, lawyers, doctors, wealthy individuals, they get access to these incredible investment ideas that they can use to compound their wealth to fund their retirement, their children's educations, or philanthropic interests that are important to them. For companies, they get access to this public capital, well, to turn their incredible ideas and growth potential into a reality, to take that money to invest it into plant, property, and equipment, or research and development, or distribution, right, to make these dreams a reality. And for communities, they benefit because of job growth, taxation revenue, and oftentimes these companies give back to communities. So I mentioned that Nasdaq is a champion for inclusive growth and prosperity, but we're a champion for the life sciences industry. We are the leader in listings for life sciences companies. In the past 5 years, over 450 biotech companies have accessed public markets, 98% of which did it on Nasdaq. Just so far in this year, 2021 year to date, nearly 40 companies have accessed public markets on Nasdaq, raising $5.5 billion. And of our entire pipeline of companies coming public, about 15% of that pipeline are biotech companies. Some of the companies you might recognize are leaders. Biogen, Celgene, Alexion, Amgen, Gilead, Illumina, Regeneron, Vertex. They are leaders in their space, but they didn't start that way. They didn't chase possibility, they created it. And that they were born as ideas from very hardworking people, driven leaders, scientists with a calling, risk takers, people that believed in themselves and the team around them, people that learned from failure and understood the power of collaboration. These companies changed the future. They created opportunity for themselves, for their community, for those patients and those families. So it's not magic, it's a lot of hard work and risk and collaboration, but at Nasdaq we've tried to capture that in our branding, where we talk about rewrite tomorrow. You see it on TV, you see it in newspapers, you see it on our website and social media. And there's no better example of rewriting tomorrow than Portal Innovations and John and this team. They have reimagined Chicago today to realize the potential of tomorrow. They are creating a life sciences industry in Chicago. John and the team, they possess the capability, the vision, the nerve to pull together capital, talent, lab space, the community, universities, the mayor. And it's so energizing to be with John when he talks about it, because to hear about his vision for the ecosystem, to him talk about why the time is right for Chicago to be the next biotech town. And really what's fun is when he's doing his thing, he looks up and he says, you know, scientists are people too. And I just love that. So I've mentioned the leaders of today, Alexion, Amgen, Biogen, Celgene. But Portal's making investments in companies that are promising pioneers in immuno-oncology and gene editing. You know, companies like Grove Biopharma, Rhythm Therapeutics, Celgo Rhythmics. These could be the leaders of tomorrow, and they'll take Chicago, all of us, with them. So on behalf of Nasdaq, we are here to congratulate and champion John and the team at Portal Innovations and all of us and the community in Chicago on rewriting Chicago's tomorrow. So thank you, John.
I think now we're supposed to cut the ribbon. Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Burnett. I'm sorry, thank you. I got over anxious.
I know it's challenging not being a scientist and a professor and, you know, with all these smart people up here. I'm just an alderman, guys. Well, good afternoon or good morning, everyone. To the mayor, to the deputy mayor, to all of the folks that's up here today, to John, to Tamara Crow. It gives me a great pleasure and honor to be here. This is so exciting to see this happen. Who would have ever thought in many years that being smart is being cool, right? I mean, now, you know, all of these scientists and technology people are like the coolest people in town, right? So it's only fitting that they move to the coolest area in the country. So I just want to congratulate you all. You know, I was just talking to the guys from Tamara Crow several years ago. They came to me and they wanted to build a high-rise residential building here. And I was like, no, they got mad, you know, so on and so forth. I'm like, man, you should be thanking me right now that I did not allow you to build that building. And now, not only are they building this hub for life and science, they're building 3 other buildings. So we are so proud and so blessed that not only our community, but the city of Chicago has become a hub for life sciences, a hub for research and development, a hub for technology. I mean, we just have everything coming our way. We're so blessed. There's so many things here. We have so many great institutions with all of the universities that are here and that surround the Chicago area, a lot of great transportation, and a lot of great places to live. So I'm just blessed to be the alderman of this area. I'm happy that this building has become successful. I'm happy that these guys aren't mad at me anymore, that they see that I was on the right track with them. So congratulations to all of you all, and let's cut the rhythm. Thank you.
And that's exactly what's happened. Yes, of course there's turnover. Turnover happens in every institution I've ever been in. We're hitting the 2-year mark. And let's face it, this last year has been a really difficult year. We'll be making some announcements about some new folks that are going to be joining us across city government over the course of the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited about that. But the work continues.
It's not alarming to you?
No, it's not alarming. It's not alarming. There's nothing to be alarmed about because we keep delivering every single day for the residents of this city. Sorry?
The Fulton Market Association,
Yeah.
Restaurant Coalition, SWORD, and SEPI calling for things like $1,000 incentive to try to encourage people to come back to work. Are you open to that kind of incentive? What might that look like in order to try to get people to come back downtown and help service the economy?
Well, I think we're starting to see people come back downtown based upon the reports that I'm getting from a lot of different business associations, not the least of which is BOMA. And various businesses have set marks for their employees to return. Some are June, some are July, some are September. So I think we're going to start to see the buildings and the office towers repopulate themselves, and that's good news. And obviously employers are thinking about innovative ways to incentivize their employees to come back. But I feel confident that that's going to happen based upon the numerous conversations that I've been in with CEOs from a wide variety of different businesses downtown.
They're looking for you to use City Hall money to provide $1,000.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard that. But certainly, we are talking through World Business Chicago with CEOs on a constant basis. So we've asked, and we always ask, like we asked today, what can we do to be your partner? What can we do to publicize and incentivize your businesses? So those conversations are robust and ongoing, and we're going to do whatever we can to help support our businesses and bring people back downtown. As I said, I've not heard that ask, so we're doing everything that we can to publicize our businesses, what's happening, the innovation, the number of people that are choosing Chicago, 31 businesses relocating from other parts of the country and the world here to Chicago during the pandemic. I think that's a great success story. And look, the reality is, and I think all businesses understand that, there's something that you get from being in person in proximity to your colleagues. The kind of innovation that we're going to see coming from this Fulton Labs, you get that not by being behind a computer screen, but by being in proximity, talking to each other, bouncing ideas off of each other. People understand that that's where innovation and team building really happens. So I think people are incentivized to come back downtown, but obviously if there is a way that we can be supportive, we'll certainly listen to any suggestions and be their partners in that.
Mayor, 66%.
Can you, identify yourself?
Mauricio Pena with Block Club Chicago.
Okay.
66% of police vehicle chases resulted in crashes in 2019. Can you comment on what your administration and CPD has done to?
Well, what I'll tell you is this: when I came into office, I saw on my daily feed a number of police pursuits, a number that seemed really high to me. So one of the first things that I did is task our risk management team in looking into this. And first of all, we found out that in the previous 5 years before I became mayor, the city had paid out over $100 million in lawsuits related to police pursuits and crashes. $100 million. Now that's obviously unacceptable. And what I was seeing is that there didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason for how pursuits were handled. So we changed the pursuit policy, made it tighter, brought in more supervision, and that was implemented over the course of 2020. And we've seen a drop in those kinds of pursuits, and certainly we've seen a drop in the number of injuries, loss of life, officers being out on injury, and there's a lot more accountability into the system because of the flag that I saw, and then charge our risk management team and the police department with stepping up and doing a better job.
Are you comfortable with how police are doing in that regard now?
Well, there's always more to come, but from my anecdotal evidence and based upon the reports that I've gotten, the number of pursuits, particularly ones resulting in injury, have dropped significantly because there's now rules and guardrails around when and how and the circumstances in which a pursuit could happen. And we were seeing pursuits happen for literally anything. A broken taillight, a high-speed chase through a neighborhood resulting in injury or death. That can't happen. Same kind of focus that we have to bring to foot pursuits, and we'll be talking more about that soon.
All right, thank you.
I think we're close, but as I said, the important thing for me is that to make sure that the department was listening and engaging officers. You can't create a policy and then impose it upon officers who then are going to be responsible for implementing it. So there's been a lot of focus group activity with officers of various ranks, and the feedback I think has been extremely helpful, and then being folded in to the policy. Obviously, because we're under consent decree, we're engaging not only with members of the public, but also the monitor, as well as the AG. So I feel confident that we're going to be able to release a policy soon, do the training, and get that in place before summer. When you think about, on average, we have 6 to 10 pursuits, foot chases every day. That's a lot. That's a lot, putting the officer at risk, putting the person pursued at risk, and putting members of the public at risk. We need a much more robust foot pursuit policy that has guardrails around it for what we're chasing people. And I've said this before. It cannot be that a minor traffic violation results in the death of someone. We have to take that seriously. This is our moment to really right-size the policy. We're not saying it's open season for people who want to outrun the police and that the people who are causing harm have a license to do so, because we're not going to chase them. We're never going to go to that extreme. But clearly, we need guardrails around the foot pursuit policy.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.